Hello! Today I'm talking about the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885 and the ways the continent of Africa changed as a result of the conference, during which the leading European powers essentially carved up the continent for their own bits of land. In the north and west of the continent, France clearly dominated. Uh, they had now colonies of Morocco, Algeria, French West Africa, French Equatorial Africa. Just those alone, something like 70% of the entire Sahara Desert. So not as much uh, arable land, but lots of important ports in the north and the west. Also in the north, Italy controlled Libya. The English had Egypt and the Sudan. Uh, in the east, Italy had Eritrea and Somaliland, though they were not able, famously, to conquer Abyssinia, also known as Ethiopia. Getting a little bit towards the center of the continent, the British also had possessions of Uganda and Kenya. Next to that, in the Belgian Congo, famously acquired for King Leopold by the explorer Stanley in a secret mission. Uh, Bordering that on the east, Tanganyika, owned by the Germans. The Germans also had a bit of Southwest Africa, modern-day Namibia. The Portuguese had control over Angola in the west and Mozambique in the east. The French had Madagascar, and the English had most of southern Africa, including South Africa, uh, Rhodesia, and a few other bits there. Overall, France had the largest amount of land, but the British controlled a much larger population, as much of the French land in Africa was very sparsely populated due to the Sahara Desert, which is not a popular vacation spot. There were many consequences for the people of Africa for suddenly waking up and finding themselves part of another country against their will. New borders were drawn up that in no way reflected the cultural, ethnic, and religious borders that previously existed among the huge, smattering of disparate kingdoms in various parts of the continent. And these new borders created problems that did not exist before, where you suddenly had, say, Hutus and Tutsis as part of the same country, and they are known for not getting along with each other, and of course that created problems further down the line. Economically, this had far-ranging consequences, as well as the reasons that the various European nations scrambled was to gain natural resources, such as the French gained a lot of gold that's on the west coast. The Belgians dominated the rubber tree supply of the world, and this was important as vulcanization had recently been discovered, and along with the Industrial Revolution, rubber became a very important raw material that would be used for a number of things. Uh, South Africa was appealing to the English because of diamonds. Also, by controlling essentially the entire Nile, they had access to some of the most fertile soil in the world, and also cotton. overall, the scramble for Africa and subsequent creation of new borders and new colonies and new ways of governing, depending on the nation, had a huge impact on Africa, which remains to this day. That it's impossible to really understand the consequences because there are so many, and there's no way of knowing what might have happened if these African nations have been able to grow and change of their own accord and not be thrust into European politics.